started getting hammered with all these incredibly emotional performances of like, we can get through it. And it was like watching The Notebook like 11 times a day. It was like, after a while, it's like, man, I don't think I can take another, I can't cry anymore. And
99.1 Joy FM, Nick and Sandy from the morning show here. Happy to have with us Bart from MercyMe. And man, Bart, you guys have done it again. Say I Won't, just a huge song. First new song from MercyMe in a while, and it has blown up.
Oh man, that's awesome to hear. It's weird during a pandemic when you're just kind of sitting still, hoping people like it.
How did the pandemic timing and the timing of a new project hit? So did it ramp anything up, slow anything down, or affect it at all?
Oh yeah, it definitely affected it. We, something changed when our first single was Almost Home a year and a half ago, and we were supposed to release an album not long after that. But I think the spring of 2020 is what we were hoping for, and then when the pandemic hit and we couldn't tour, it slowed everything down, and to the point to where we kind of wiped the original album idea, kind of wiped the slate clean, and we just kept writing and ended up with about 40 something songs, and then it was like, we slowed it down intentionally because it just gave us something to do, like that felt somewhat normal since we couldn't tour, and thinking it would be over, just just right around the corner, we're almost done, and ended up putting Hurry Up and Wait out just to have something out there, and then and Say I Won't feels like the first single, even though it's technically, I guess, the third song we've put out there. And so now it's just, we finally, once we were like, okay, I think it's going to be in the spring of 21 is when we started trying to land this thing. And it took from very beginning to end about 2 years and 2 months to do the project. And it's been a long journey, but it's probably done us more good than any other album, considering that it just kind of kept us sane during the pandemic. This album may be for us more than any other we've ever done.
Over 2 years in the making. To put that in perspective, prior to this, what's the longest it's ever taken you to do one project?
Oh, no. Prior to this, it's at the most maybe 18 months between album releases. Like it's, from one album to another, that's about average.
Yeah.
Maybe. And so that's waiting 2 years. That means you're touring for about a year. Yeah, probably about 6 months at the most. I think the fastest we've done is about a month. And so 2 years and 25 months. That's a long time.
So the project's releasing April 30. Inhale, Exhale, same title as the album you were going to release, or different?
No, it changed a few times. In the very beginning, we were going to name it. Well, we didn't know how many songs we were going to have originally, but we kept saying, if it's 13 songs, let's call it 13 Reasons to Keep Going. Then there was this Netflix show that a lot of people know about that was not a good show. And we were like, you know what? That would be bad marketing. So we got away from that. And then we were going with Spaceman. And it was just, a random, just, not of this world kind of thing. And so like Almost Home had an astronaut in it and made it a cameo appearance in Hurry Up and Wait's lyric video. And we thought we were going that route. And then during the pandemic, when we kind of reset, I'd say in the spring of last year, I kind of jokingly say when the Titanic started going down, all the musicians jumped on the lifeboat. That's social media, YouTube, all that stuff. And so started getting hammered with all these incredibly emotional performances of like, we can get through it. And it was like watching The Notebook like 11 times a day. It was like, after a while, it's like, man, I don't think I can take another, I can't cry anymore. And so we were just like, man, we wanted to make people laugh, or just, make them dance at a red light in their car or whatever. And that's why we put Hurry Up and Wait and made that corny video, the one we did back last spring. And our mottos ended up being, man, if it doesn't rip their heart out, it should make them dance. And that was kind of what we joked around the studio. And we kept saying, man, I just want people for 40 something minutes, the length of the album, to kind of put aside whatever it is they're going through, what we're all going through, and just take a deep breath and remember what's important. And we said it so many times that at some point we were like, man, let's just call it Inhale, Exhale. And it just seemed appropriate. And it's funny because in that, our album artwork became this kind of artsy kind of design of these lungs, never thinking about COVID being a respiratory disease in the beginning. But looking back, it's like, wow, it's like, it definitely is appropriate as far as like this album is definitely going to kind of timestamp this period in our life, and all the songs kind of came out of that. So yeah, it just seemed appropriate to have a title like that.
You've mentioned the pandemic, quarantine, all of these things obviously run through everything right now. I'm curious for you personally, what has the past year been like? Has it been good for you to have this time to kind of just reset and rest, or has it been maddening because you want to be out on the road, or, what's it felt like for you?
I think we made it a positive thing. I mean, it was, I think it's, I think March 8th or 9th of 2020 was, that's right, was our last show in the middle of a tour. And then like the whole world shut down, and, travel got shut down, NBA and arena, everything. I think when NBA stopped, it's like the world stopped. It's so random, but it kind of felt that way. Yeah. And so, but at first we kept thinking, well, this isn't going to be long. I could use a couple of weeks off or whatever. And once it settled in, like, wow, this is kind of scary. And hearing all these insane stories, there was definitely a lot of fear. My oldest son is a type 1 diabetic, and we'd heard like, hey, be careful. We don't know what it could do to someone like that. So we definitely lived in some fear. But then, it's at some point, just something kind of switched where like, you know what, I mean, no one, I can't even say there's anything we can do other than wash our hands, wear a mask. No one really knew. And I was like, and what, it's really, I mean, it's kind of life in general. It's like, it's out of our hands. And so we use common sense. And then when I realized, when you go on vacation, you come back and you have deadlines, you got to catch up. But this was weird because we all kind of pushed pause. There was no deadlines. There was nothing to catch up to. We were all kind of stuck in the same thing. And once I got acclimated to that and realized that on certain days, the most important thing that matters is what ice cream flavor I'm getting with my 10-year-old daughter, it became kind of awesome for a while. Like, and our attitude was, one, we hope this never happens again. And we're in the middle of something that they'll talk about for generations, like, and so, I just found myself just enjoying every second I could with my family. I have 5 kids, and so people were like, man, I was going stir crazy at home. And I was like, man, I just needed a couple people to step out. I never got to be lonely. I had 7 people in my house. It was like a circus. You couldn't leave, but I'm grateful for it, man. We made the best of it. And it was amazing for my family because traveling so much is being home that long. There are parts of my kids that my teenage kids that I honestly just didn't know much about. If you want to be honest, it's like, and because to stop and it was just, yes, we made the best of it. And I look back, as horrible as it was for so many people, it did wonders for our family.
Every artist that we've talked to has said a similar thing like that, Bart. I'm wondering, 2-part question, and then we'll let you go. But is there a song that was inspired by this season? And is there anything that you will take with you from this season, whether it's schedule or family intention, whatever? Two things there.
Yeah, there's most of the album feels like it came out of this, but for me, Say I Won't's a big one. We kind of joke around about, like we've kind of not cornered the market, but we've written our fair share of funeral songs. And so to write a song is strictly about living and taking advantage of every second that you're given, because, you just, gosh, especially now, you just don't know how things are going to pan out or what's going to happen next. And so it's just the things you put off till tomorrow. Maybe now's a good time to maybe check in on those things. What I took away from this was, I took away a lot, but we had already been on a journey of just understanding our identity in Christ and realizing that my identity is not what I do in MercyMe. And but it certainly could be if you're not careful, and you kind of live by the highs and lows of the band. And so we were in a healthy place for probably 4 or 5 years, because we really went through that and learning what that is, to the point now to where, man, we had a meeting right in the middle of the pandemic. I was like, hey guys, like, I know we've got to get back to work, and I'm excited. But the one thing I realize is that I don't dislike touring. I just really like being home. And so we had already cut our shows from like 140 shows to about 60 or 70. And I said, man, I think, I'm not going to get my kids back this age back. And so we're like, and I call it a blessing or curse, but we proved that we can financially survive a pandemic and no shows. And so don't tell me that we have to do it, but it's, so we'll probably come back and do, less shows and be, and just kind of process what we say yes to, more than we ever have. And, cause now more than ever, being home is so incredibly valuable to me that it's like, man, and the whole band's kind of there. It's like, what we look at the shows and go, is it worth leaving home? And some we may say, no, I don't think it is. And I don't know if I think we would have automatically said yes if something came our way before. And I don't think it's going to be like that. Like we certainly want to, we somehow, thanks to the movie and other things, we were able to keep all of our tour crew and staff on salary and insurance during this whole time. And so we do have some catching up to do financially, but other than that, it's like, I just don't want to look back and go, man, who are those kids that I met for a year during the pandemic and then didn't see again for a while is what it feels like. So we're going to make sure it doesn't happen.
I love that answer, as long as St. Louis makes the list of say yes things.
Oh, always. Yes, of course.
Well, I think we're actually working on that as we speak for the spring run. So looking forward to that. Say I won't, Toby's in there. Was that intentional all along? I mean, have him in the video, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we Gary Miracle, the guy the video is about, he was our first merch guy. We've known him, he was our guitar player Mike's roommate 20 something years ago. We've been buddies forever. And so when it all happened, we just wanted to tell his story. And one of the things he said in the conversation was, man, everything that I'm going through with losing these limbs, and it doesn't make sense, but if there's a point to where people could hear the story and feel like they can overcome or get through what they're struggling with, man, that would help me get out of bed on certain days. And man, the second he said that and we realized we were doing the video, I sent out and called a bunch of my friends and was like, hey man, I know you don't know this guy. And I told him the story. I was like, we're wanting to just sing and not show him until the actual video. And it's kind of displayed on the wall in the video, just holding up signs of things that you're going to overcome or whatever. And so I called like Ben Roethlisberger, Scott Hamilton, so many guys. And then Toby was one of them. And it's funny because I just said, Toby, is there anything you'd like to say? Just say, man, like, I dare you to tell me I won't do this. And he's, yeah, man. And they all responded like in 2 minutes. It was so fast. And they all just sent me pictures, but he called me and he goes, hey man, do you think it'd be okay if I say I won't see my son? I was like in tears going, are you kidding me? Like, and he was like, yeah, that's really what I want to say. And I was honored that he would, I don't know. I mean, just kind of be willing to go there. It was just a really, really sweet moment. Yeah, it was, I'm just proud that we had the chance to do something with Toby, and we tried to walk with him through this whole thing, but haven't had a chance to talk much. So that was when he sent the picture, I was a puddle, man. I was like, golly, yeah. So he's such a sweet guy.
Powerful video, great song. Cannot wait to hear the rest of the album. We'll all get to April 30th when it comes out. So Bart, thanks for taking some time to talk to us this morning, and hope to see you back on the ground in St. Louis sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, you guys. We're trying.